Okay, if I ask you, according to you, which are the most valuable non-tech companies in the world, which companies comes in your mind? How many of you feel Coca-Cola is a very big company?
Yeah.
Coca-Cola.
At a global level, it's a very big company, right? You can't
And
imagine.
Pepsi too. Yeah.
You can't imagine in how many countries they actually sell their bottles, right? Where the government is not able to send medicine, you will find Coca-Cola delivering their bottles there. How many of you actually went to the website of Coca-Cola in the entirety of your journey of consuming it?
Never. Right?
Never, because it never required, right? Whenever you are buying something, you go to the website, you do research. But imagine Coca-Cola such being a powerful brand that you even did not consider it important to even go to the website, because that kind of a trust is there, right? Very few brands are there which even you don't make an effort to know more about, and then you just buy. So Coca-Cola at one point of time, this is a very interesting campaign, and this is a story of new Coke, and this is also mentioned on their website as, so this is a screenshot of the Coca-Cola's website. New Coke, the most memorable marketing blunder ever. The history of New Coke. So I so they why would they give the recipe on the website? So, and I'll tell you why. I can give you a so from this particular example, you will also be able to understand if the recipe is important, then what is the importance of that recipe. So Coca-Cola has this story that they have never changed their secret formula, right? And it's been like 60, 70, 100 years that their Coke is same, that they have never changed it, right? It's a classic secret recipe, or you can say the classic Coke that has remained same for the number of years that at least we have seen Coca-Cola. So there was a time when Coca-Cola and Pepsi were in a brand war, which they still are, and Coca-Cola sales started to drop. So why Coca-Cola started to drop? Because the Pepsi came up with a very new campaign in which what they did, that they asked people to taste two drinks. So what they did, they removed the label of the bottles. For example, if I remove the label of Coca-Cola, Thumbs Up, and Pepsi, so imagine me giving you two bottles, one is Coca-Cola and Pepsi, and I remove the label. Now, just by looking at the bottles, will you be able to identify which one is Coke and which one is Pepsi?
Yeah. Like even there is a branding engraved in the bottle nowadays.
Let's say I blindfold you and then I make you taste.
Yeah. No. Maybe not. Like.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe yes.
Yeah.
But if I just remove all the branding from the bottle and I show you a bottle of Pepsi and a bottle of Coke, you will not be able to differentiate, right? Just by looking at it with no label, correct?
Yeah.
So what Pepsi did, Pepsi did this blind taste test, that they removed the labels and they asked people to drink two drinks. One was Pepsi and one was Coke. They tasted it and they looked at the bottles without label. So they were clueless which one is Coke, which one is Pepsi. And the drink they liked the most happened out to be Pepsi. To their surprise. For example, you are a frequent Coke buyer, and then I ask you to have two drinks without removing the label, and then you say I like the second one, and that happened came out to be Pepsi. And people suddenly realize that okay, this is Pepsi, and because of that, Pepsi sales started to grow up. And what happened? That now Coke wanted to do something. So what Coke did, that Coke, got into a panic mode, and they decided to introduce new Coke. They said because Pepsi is winning by their taste, so we will also change the taste and make something different. And they decided to change their classic Coke taste, and they introduced new Coke. Before they introduced new Coke, they did some market research, right? Because we are learning about market research, so I'm giving you an example of market research. They made a new flavor, and they asked around 2 lakh people to taste the old Coke and taste the new Coke. And the 2 lakh people said that we like the new Coke more. It was better than the old Coke. And by that analysis, by that market research, they decided to launch the new Coke in the market. Now, what happened that when they decided to launch, they decided to change the flavor of the Coke. right? I mean, they withdrawed the old Coke and they just changed the flavor of it and released the new Coke into the market. And imagine what happened then. What do you think?
Coke failed.
Why?
Maybe Coke lost the brand, or not the brand exactly, but then that nostalgia that it used to give.
That nostalgia, that that association that people had with Coke, classic flavor, right?
Yeah, yeah, with the
Or that
classic.
that perceived value that comes with the flavor.
Yeah,
and and what happened that it started, like the situation became so worse that people started to hoard. People started hoarding old Coke, and they started protesting that we want the old Coke back. Within 70 days, Coke decided to roll back the new Coke and again relaunch the classic Coke. Imagine if I say that, okay, because I did a taste test, 2 lakh people were there and they tasted the new Maggie and they tasted the old Maggie, and because they like the new Maggie, I'm just changing the flavor of Maggie and you will not have your classic Maggie ever. Will you be okay with it?
definitely not.
But my data says that the new flavor is better. Maybe I fail to understand the perceived value, right? At a macro level.
Yeah, quite possible.
That is a possibility. So that is what we say that. So these are the examples where brands did market research, but still it did not work really well. It was not about how much sugar the Coke has, but it was about the relationship or nostalgia people had with the classic flavor.